Hi, this is here with a review of the Curry Flotro. This is a mix of the Curry 8 and the Curry 4 upper. For a size 9.5, it weighs about 348 grams, but it weighs lighter than what the digits show. And what's surprising is that the upper material should be something that's a heavier material than what other usual advanced tech material that we use, whether it's knit or fuse or whatnot. This is sort of like a suede leather, but even if they use this, it still weighs just as fluffy and featherweight light like the ordinary Curry Flow series. The upper of the 4 is not the best in terms of this, in terms of its functionality, because it has some issues. But the Curry 4 was a significant shoe because I think one of the better performance from Steph Curry himself in the finals was in the 2017 finals, when he actually wore these without warning, without it being officially released, and everybody was watching it, like Michael Jordan wearing the 14s in the 98 finals. And he did have some brilliant moments where he was razzling, dazzling, and dribbling and, crossing over and breaking LeBron's ankles and looking pretty cool doing it. But he didn't do much of that because KD was allowed to take the spotlight, whether it's because Curry shied away from the spotlight or he was generous enough to let KD be the man in the spotlight. Who knows? We'll see if Steph gets his chance to reign during games in the finals and win an MVP, finals MVP in this finals. We'll see. But this is a shoe that he's been wearing in the playoffs. This is a shoe he will probably be wearing in the finals as well. The 4 upper is not, it looks good. I love the design. And personally, I feel that overall Curry 4 is the best Curry shoe from the Stephen Curry Under Armour series. But the upper material had some issues. First of all, it's the toe box area. It was very rigid. The leather or fused material was very thick, coated, rigid, kind of plastic material. So when you bend, you will feel creases forming and those creases pinching into your foot. And you'll feel that pinching sensation every time you play it until, you wear it down a little bit. It breaks down a little bit. It gets a little softer. But guess what happens when the leather gets soft enough to accommodate to the shape of your foot or someone? The creases will eventually be more and more deep, older, grainier, and they'll start breaking, and you will see the lines turning into a division line. It'll just break. So that was a fatal flaw of the Curry 4s. So here they use this suede material, and it's rigid enough to provide additional adequate lockdown if you lace it up. At the same time, you will see no creasing. It flexes nicely, so it goes nicely with the concept of the flow midsole. So that's a huge upgrade, protro, if you might call it, there. And also, the tongue was a bit of a problem for the Curry 4s because it was just elastic material and nothing much. So the tongue, not as bad as the LeBron 18s, which had a fatal tongue, which was paper thin, and you would feel yourself choking by the laces as you tightened them up. It wasn't that bad, but they actually improved it by adding sort of the corduroy type of, ridges, wrinkles here. You can hear that. And they actually provide some degree of padding when you lace them up. And also the lacing, in order to prevent that pinching sensation, instead of it all being just holes and laces, they actually added this speed lacing system, so there will be less pinching once you pull it up and tighten it nicely. So that's a nice protro touch there. Another great thing about the Curry 4 upper upgrade, or the changes they made, is that the elasticy material on the ankle area, it was very tight. I mean, it wasn't tight enough to prevent circulation or anything, but it was hugging enough that you had to really pry them open with both hands and put your foot in gently and carefully and nicely, at the same time with an adequate force. But the 4s, they actually had it tilting down a little bit. You see this curve? The original 4s was just straight. So with this curving out and opening up its mouth a little bit, the beak is a little bit lenient there, and the elastic material is not as tight and it's not as small as the 4s. So you actually can comfortably slide your foot in and wear it without having to use all 2 or 3 hands to try and put your foot inside the shoe. So easy access. That is just a small touch, but it makes a world of difference. So I rarely had any compliments for Under Armour in terms of their design or their engineering in the past, but this is incredible. This is tiny but mighty. As Muhammad Ali used to say, it's not the mountains you have to climb, but the pebbles inside the shoe that'll get you. And they work the pebbles out. Great job. The heel cup is there, and it's prominently there getting the job done. At the same time, there's a U-shaped padding inside, right above the Achilles, that provides additional adequate support. So there's no excess movement or wiggle space here, so it locks down nicely. The only little problem I have is these little stitching parts inside. Depending on the shape of your foot or how you wear it and how you move around with it, you might feel a little bit of a pinching sensation. Not as bad as a Jordan 30s, but a little bit of an annoyance. But if you feel that, my suggestion is just cut out a little Scotch tape and put it there. And even a little Scotch tape there provides enough force working against the scratchy area, so it provides this smooth, friction-free bit here that allows you to be freed from that irritation. The fit, I would say this fits true to size, but it's a little strange because the big toe area has a lot of space, so it feels like it's curving a little bit like a banana. So there's huge space in the big toe area, and the pinky area, it's not as pinching and it's not as narrow as the typical Kyrie's or Kobe's, but it is not the most giving. So make sure you try your foot inside and wear it. But compared to conventional Curry series, I've had to go either half or a full size up because it was so narrow, especially on the pinky toe area. But this is actually pretty forgiving, especially also because the upper material, as I mentioned earlier, is sort of like a suede, more stretchy material. So I would say if you like a very form-fitting shoe, if you're used to the Kyrie's or the Kobe's, you can go true to size. And if you have a crazy narrow foot, where you feel like even the Kyrie's or Kobe's are a little bit roomy, or I would say if you're used to the Curry's, you can go down half a size from your typical Curry series size. If you went, especially compared to the recent Curry Flow 8s and 9s, you can go down half a size from what you used to get there. So conventional wisdom would say if you're used to other normal basketball shoes like Nikes or Adidas, I would say true to size or half a size up, depending on how irritating the pinky toe area could be. Also, the top of the toe box area, there's no crazy dead space, which has been a constant issue these days with most basketball shoes as of late. They don't have much of that. And at the same time, the lace loops come all the way down closer to your toe area, so the lockdown is very, very secure. And you can get a customized one-to-one fit there. So that's good. So the upper, I've had a little praise. A downside is that they had a little plastic bit here to provide some additional anti-ankle inversion protection, but they got rid of it. They just have a nice little slab of leather there. The Flow 8 is different from the Flow 9. Flow 9 was a denser material because I guess they wanted to upgrade the durability of the outsole, but they went back to the Curry 8 Flow, and I felt the 8 was softer than 9s. And the flotro feels slightly softer than the Curry 8. So this is a very nice way of showing that these fluffy, spongy foam material that can dual serve as an outsole can have a very soft cushioning. I would say the cushioning is comparable to the Curry Force, which I said was the best cushion Curry shoes of them all. There's a clear heel to toe drop. The heel area of the cushioning is really good. The forefoot area, unfortunately, even though it's a little lower, I always feel that they should do a different kind of density, like they should have a more fluffy, less dense foam on the forefoot. But anyway, another problem is that the plate is a little closer to the middle of the midsole rather than closer to the outsole because of the material that it's planted inside. So you will feel the plate a little bit on the forefoot. Not as bad as the Adidas shoe where you actually feel the plate underneath the swivel board, but just a couple of centimeters under the swivel board, the plate is there. So you'll feel there's a little bit of a, I guess in a positive way, stability, but at the same time, you wish there could be a little bit more extra compression instead of that plate coming up closer to the forefoot. Or they could have had the plate coming more to the heel rather than the forefoot area, because the heel, it's completely free from this plastic plate. So that's a bit of a disappointment. But all in all, compared to the Flow foam cushioning that I've experienced, whether it's the running models or the Curry 8 and 9s, this is the better one in terms of the density they've used. The outsole, as you know, it's great traction. It's not as durable as rubber outsole. I think that's been covered a million times, half to death. But the cushioning is definitely an upgrade. And how good is the cushioning? It actually feels just as good as the Curry 8s without the insole. And with the insole they provided is a very dense orsolite-like material, so it's thick and dense. So with this, it feels incredible. Yeah, but at the same time, again, I told you there's a parity. I mean, the lack of parity between the heel and the forefoot area. So I would suggest getting something with a thicker insole on the heel, perhaps some type of a reinforcement heel, an insole with a sort of a reinforcement in the heel to provide some rigidity or a thickness there. I would suggest that, and that would make this shoe near perfect, other than the durability issue. The price point is, it's typical Curry series price, and I think this is definitely worth it, especially considering the material that's used and the homage it pays to, I guess, somewhat of an historic Curry shoe, an iconic Curry series shoe. But another problem is the outrigger. I mean, they have an outrigger on the medial side. On the lateral side, why couldn't they have made this thicker? I wish they did. I mean, it's not crazy unstable, but even if the base is a little wide, I wish they had something more substantial. Like the Curry 4s, they had great outriggers. Personally, what I would have loved is to have upper. Okay, they made some changes, and it's great changes. You can keep the 4 upper. The Flow, good job. Just do something with the plate, move it a little bit further back. And if they had the 4 outsole and the 4 outrigger, this would be the perfect shoe. But then, all in all, I think this is one of the better Under Armour Curry series shoes that I've seen. And this is the first time they're trying to fuse 2 models into one. And I had my skepticism, but I'm truly impressed. And also, depending on what happens in the finals, this could be a very historic shoe. This could be a shoe that's going to be something that's definitely worth keeping, in your collection, whether you want to play ball in them or not. So it's a pleasant surprise that other than the shoe looking good and trying something new and probably going to be an important part of history. And I'm not saying the Golden State Warriors are gonna beat the Celtics and win the finals, and Curry's gonna win Finals MVP for sure. But considering what has happened in the past, Curry is in a good position to demonstrate his ability to the fullest, or perhaps have a more shining moment in the finals this time. And definitely, this is one of the better Curry shoes that we've seen.